Innovation in Public Education. Stay with us and you're going to hear from someone who has an award-winning technique for turning around low-performing schools. Stay with us. My name is John O'Leary. I'm the executive editor of Better, Faster, Cheaper, and I'm here today talking with John Schnurr, the CEO and co-founder of New Leaders for New Schools. John, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Your organization was a 2009 Innovations in American Government Award winner. Tell me a little bit about what the program does, what your organization does.
New Leaders for New Schools is a national nonprofit organization focused on one mission, which is high achievement for every student, regardless of background. We want to help close achievement gaps, especially for kids who've been historically underserved in education, urban and rural, low-income youth. The strategy is to invest in outstanding principals, to recruit and train and support outstanding principals, to turn around schools, to give kids a much better education.
So this is a leadership-focused organization. You think if you get a principal into a school, give them some mentoring and some aid, that can really help turn around a low-performing school.
We've never seen a turnaround of a low-performing school succeed without a great principal.
Without a great principal. Can you give me some idea of what the results have been of New Leaders in New Schools?
Well, I'd say we've had good results, but we've still got to get much better. With the RAND Corporation as a research partner, they found that schools led by New Leaders principals are outperforming the school systems that we're in by statistically significant margins.
Okay.
But our view is that's not enough, because the pace of gain would be fine if our kids that we were serving were just a little bit behind. They're far enough behind that only a subset of our schools are making the breakthrough gains that eliminate the gap. And we're really figuring out, we're about cracking the code of what makes those breakthrough gains schools succeed so we can scale it everywhere.
All right. Now, everything I know about turnarounds for low schools by a principal is from the movie The Principal, starring Jim Belushi,
Yep.
where he rides a motorcycle and wears a leather jacket and carries a baseball bat. To what extent is a principal handicapped by the system that he's working? He's got teacher contracts, or he or she has teacher contracts they have to work against or work within, school boards, local politics, funding issues. How much can a principal really do?
A great principal finds a way to focus relentlessly on better achieving for kids, to attract and retain and develop great teachers, to create a culture of high expectations for all kids in the school, of personal accountability for results among the adults and the students, engaging parents, and relentlessly driving improvement. And we see great principals around the country who have transformed schools despite the conditions you described. It's certainly much easier and faster when mayors and school system superintendents, school boards create the conditions that are conducive to good leadership, but people can do it to some degree anywhere.
Anywhere. Can you give me an example of a school being turned around by a New Leaders principal?
I mean, there are plenty. We had New Leaders-led schools were the most improved schools over the last few years in California, Illinois, Washington, D.C., Memphis, Baltimore. One example in Chicago was the Dodge Renaissance Academy. Okay. And this was one of the very worst achieving schools in Chicago. Almost none of the kids could read or do math at grade level. Mayor Daley and Arnie Duncan, as superintendent of schools, said, we're closing the school, we're reopening it with a new principal who has the ability to hire new staff, serving the same kids, same community. A New Leaders principal went in. The school, over the next 3 or 4 years, became one of the highest achieving schools in Chicago, the most improved school in Illinois in 2007, and is now a place that people are fighting to get in because of the education kids get there.
That's a great turnaround. What advice would you have for school board members, mayors, people involved in education who want to adopt this strategy of focusing on the principal to help turn around a school? What advice would you have for those folks who are trying to do this?
I mean, I'd say two things. One is, I think that any leader trying to drive change in education needs to understand that the status quo that we have in education is not inevitable. That education, the quality of education, is not a product of a child's poverty. That education is the antidote to poverty. We have schools that are proving that kids from all backgrounds can achieve at high levels when we adults get it right, with the right expectations, teaching, relationship, school culture. And if you start with the premise that this can be done, needs to be done, even if it requires political courage and educational leadership to get there, that's the starting point. The second part is you got to invest in your talent.
Got to invest in your talent. Great. I've been talking to John Schnurr, the CEO of New Leaders for New Schools. I'm John O'Leary. Thanks for being with us.